is the reporter who first broke the lid on this story years ago by talking about malfeasance at Pride Toronto. And she writes for True North, and her latest essay is called Pride Toronto Cashed Grant Checks Without Delivering Honest Provinces. Sue-Ann Levy, great to see you again.
Hi there, Ezra. It's great to see you.
Well, you were way ahead of your time on this because you called out financial shenanigans in Pride Toronto years ago, and they just called you names. They called you, and that's typical of the woke left. Give us the facts. What happened at Pride Toronto? What kind of an organization is it? What did they get the money for, and what did they do or not do?
Well, Pride Toronto was a train wreck years ago, and it really started, Ezra, when in 2016, you remember Black Lives Matter sat down at the intersection of Yonge and Gerrard and refused to go any further unless Pride met their demands. From that day forward, the police were banned from the parade. They lost a ton of money. And I remember showing up at meetings and being called all kinds of names, even though I'm gay too, but evidently you can't be an accountable gay. You just have to go along with the flow. So I knew it was an accident waiting to happen. And the last I left them was in 2020, just a year before I retired from the Sun. And they had this outrageous AGM. And I had written about allegations of improprieties. They had this outrageous AGM where certain board members installed themselves on the board, just put themselves on like they're, kings and queens for the day. You should pardon the expression. And Michael Erickson, who owns Glad J Bookshop, headed up this meeting where they wouldn't answer any questions. They screamed and yelled at people. They said that my articles were full of trash, and they wouldn't address the improprieties. They let the clock run out. And lo and behold, here we find out that they took $2.8 million in grants just from the feds. Okay, this is not the province, this is not the city, because the city gives them a sizable cash gift every year of about $200,000. They took this money, they promised all kinds of deliverables, and guess what? They didn't deliver probably anything. Because they had lost money, and I'm trying to connect the dots myself, because they had lost so much money when they banned the police from the parade, they used the grant money to pay staff salaries and to pay contractors to keep them as a going concern, which is just fraudulent, absolutely fraudulent.
That is fraud. I mean, if you and I did that, we would not just be asked nicely return the money, we most likely would be prosecuted for fraud. Here, let me quote from your article. There were 3 separate grants, $1 million from Public Safety Canada to develop better relations with the police. But then you say the $1 million grant came with the agreement to allow police back into the parade. But in January of 2019, Pride members voted 163 to 161 to renege on the agreement and uphold the ban. All right, but they kept the money. That's sort of
the money. Yeah, and the excuse was, well, I was at that meeting actually, and I thought, they're crazy. These people are crazy, and they had all these radical lefty queer people, saying no police. And it was around the time that Douglas MacArthur had been found out in the serial killings, and they used that as an excuse not to establish relations with the police. Yeah. And remember, John Tory was mayor, and I think he did a piss poor job, a very weak job of trying to bring everybody together. And so it continued. The police were banned, and they have been banned to this day.
Yeah. There was a time when I think police forces were inherently adverse to gay people. I mean, the vice squads that would raid the bathhouses and whatnot. And I suppose it was the same with other minority groups in the past. But I would think that in the 2020s, having police, especially police in uniform, attend gay pride parades is something that gay activists would want, not only to make contacts in the police department in case they need help with something, but to show, if I was a gay activist, I would want to show the normalization of the gay community and how, that in 2020 they're allied with the police, and the police will help them if necessary. To turn against the police, I don't know how that helps. Like, I just don't get how that helps the gay community. And what it is it's putting other agendas ahead of the gay agenda. I mean, listen, I'm not part of the gay community.
Except they were perfectly hypocritical.
Yeah.
This is the thing that drove me crazy. They were perfectly fine with having the police do the security for the parade so they could stand outside the actual parade march. And again, I was there covering it. And they were perfectly fine with that, giving free policing. And it amounted to a sizable amount. We don't even talk about that grant. That was, donations in kind, which would have been about $1.5 million for that one day. They're okay with that. But gay officers, lesbian officers couldn't march in the parade.